Hello there, and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. Glad you joined us this week.
Yeah, we've got an old friend coming back this week, Mike Holder, the athletic director at Oklahoma State. We're always pleased to have him drive down the highway to come here from Stillwater and give us his time, talk about what's going on at OSU athletics. By the way, this is an anniversary for us.
It is.
It's 10th anniversary for taping at Cox Studios. And they treat us much better than we deserve, and we hope that's never the standard.
It's been a great relationship.
Indeed it has.
Mike Holder, today's guest on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I've been fortunate enough to premiere every film that I've produced at Sundance. Seeing your film on the big screen for the first time in front of an audience at the Sundance Film Festival is unmatched. I'm Shad Burris. I'm an attorney, a film producer, film financier, economic development financier, and I'm Chickasaw. Nobody can argue that modern day media, cinema, has perpetuated this myth, this idea of the Indian and what that is. And just the idea that, all Indians look one way or all Indians act one way is a terrible injustice. Being able to have filmmakers tell stories that are representative of some element of his surroundings, his upbringing, what they know, what they see through their own eyes, that other people get a chance to bear witness to around the world. I think that's amazing. For me personally, being an Indian today means being responsible, honest, progressive, and giving that back to the community.
Learn more about today's Chickasaws at profilesofenation.com.
As I indicated in the opening segment, we are really pleased to welcome back an old friend of The Verdict, Mike Holder, the athletic director at Oklahoma State University. And we're asking Mike to come in today and give us an update on athletic situation at Oklahoma State. I know a lot of our viewers are very, very interested in that, and we'll get a good report from Mike. He is 32 years. He was the golf coach at Oklahoma State University, had won 8 national championships in that time and so many conference championships, we can't count them. And how many All-Americans did he have? Well, we think it's in excess of 100. Quite a spectacular run as golf coach at Oklahoma State. Not surprisingly, he was then asked to take over the whole athletic program 10 years ago and has been athletic director and has made great strides and been very innovative in how Oklahoma State sports department or athletic department is being run. We are really pleased to ask him to come back for his 4th appearance. Mike, welcome.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
It's September. I guess an athletic director in these parts is thinking about football and seeing that the season gets off to a good start. So give us an update on the Cowboy football program.
Well, yeah, if you're not thinking about football, you should be. Things are good. I'm optimistic about this season, probably as optimistic as I've been since I've been the athletic director, maybe as optimistic as I've ever been, and I've been at Oklahoma State a lot of years. We've got a lot of momentum from the end of last season. We've got a promising young quarterback in Mason Rudolph. Perhaps the most depth we've ever had on defense, and we've got a lot of team speed. You could tell I'm kind of parroting what I hear from our head coach, Mike Gundy. But I feel really good about it. We've had good response for season ticket sales. We set an all-time record a couple of years ago at just a little over 50,000. I thought we might surpass that this year, but we've just got about a little over a week left to sell. And we're at about 36,000 general public season tickets and 9,000 students, so that's around 45,000. We need to sell a lot in a short period of time. I think we may have the best season ticket sales, second best season in season ticket sales we've ever had, and we'll have some great crowds. And what's really good about this is most of our team's young. If we have a good season this year, I think there are even better prospects for next year.
What is stadium capacity?
Just a little bit over 60,000.
So you're really bumping close to having the whole stadium sold out on a season ticket basis.
Yes, sir. I think if
Coming close, I mean.
when we sold a little over 50 2 years ago, I think if we could sell about 2,000 more than that, we would consider ourselves to be at capacity.
Wow.
What's the television package look like these days? I know from year to year, sometimes those things change. What is the Big 12 situation, and are you doing anything outside the Big 12 package to put Oklahoma State football out there?
Well, you know, it's funny. It used to be you made all your money at the gate and you very rarely got on television. Now every game is on television, and you actually make almost as much or more money from your television contract than you do at the gate. I worry sometimes because the product on television is so spectacular now, and the lure of that nice easy chair and the fridge close by and the high definition television, and then you think about fighting traffic and trying to get out of the stadium after the game's over. It's going to be, I think, very challenging in the future to get people to come to the games. Now, I've always told everyone there's no substitute for being there, feeling the atmosphere, and really being a part of what happens on game day. But it's definitely a challenge, and we're lucky to have a great contract in the Big 12 with ESPN and Fox. That takes care of our first two tier of television opportunities. And then we have third tier rights, which are the rights that fall back to the university or to the school. And we've got some good plans this year to try to take some of those third tier opportunities, which are primarily baseball, tennis, golf, our minor sports offering, and try to get those out to the public as well and get some more exposure for our athletic teams.
Do radio rights continue to escalate too, or has that really stopped going up?
I think they're pretty stable. There's really not a lot of opportunity for uptick there.
Well, if every game's on TV, I would think the radio contract's got to be worth less.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, people would rather see it than just listen to it.
Well, but if their interest is stirred by televising of the games and the massive televising of games, when they can't, they're much more likely to turn on the radio when they can't watch TV than they would be if they weren't able to watch it on television.
Right, and of course winning plays a part in that too.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to tap into that winning
Everybody
program.
loves a winner, and I say all the time, we need everyone out there that cares about Oklahoma State athletics to be with us. It doesn't matter if you come to the game or not, whether you watch on television or not, whether you just read about us in the newspaper, listen to us on the radio. Everyone's critical, and it's important for everyone to be saying good things about Oklahoma State athletics.
You know, people are talking about digital marketing, and I assume digital marketing is a big aspect of promoting college athletics in general right now.
Yeah, I think every athletic director tries to leave no stone unturned. You can't get too much exposure, and you can't create enough revenue.
Speaking of revenue, is this the first season or first year for the payment to the players, cost of attendance payments?
Well, we don't really like to refer to that as a payment yet. That's just an addition to the scholarship.
Right.
You know, way back in the 50s, I believe, there was you got a full scholarship, which was room, board, books, tuition, and fees. And in addition to that, they provided the NCAA allowed you to provide laundry money. And I think at that time it was $15. I think early in the 70s that went away, and the scholarship reverted back to just room, board, books, tuition, and fees. And it stayed that way until this year. And the NCAA allows us now to cover the full cost of attendance. That's things over and above the other items that I mentioned, things like transportation to and from home, might take your girlfriend out on a date, just any kind of miscellaneous expense. And that varies across the country. It's different for every university. I think the low that I've seen in Division I, at least in the FBS, is around $12,000 or $1,200 a year, and then a high of around $6,000 a year. So some student athletes, primarily football and basketball players at some universities this year will get an extra check for $6,000. In our case, it'll be $4,600, and we'll give that to them in a monthly stipend. So you just divide $4,600 by 10, you'll probably get $460 a month that they didn't have last year. All good.
Now, that's bound to make life easier for the athlete in getting along. I know people don't usually think of athletes as having trouble getting along, but I'm sure they do, or otherwise this cost of attendance wouldn't have been adopted.
Well, you know, our athletes are very busy. It used to be that at the end of the school year in June or May when school was out, your players left campus and got a summer job and made a little bit of money, and people weren't working out in the summer. The job they had perhaps as a lifeguard or in the oil field was the workout that they got. That's changed, you know. They're in summer school in the summer, they're working out in the weight room, they're training with Rob Glass, our strength and conditioning coach. So it's really 12 months out of the year that you're involved some way in your sport, and especially in football or basketball. So in recognition of their inability to perhaps go out and hold down a part-time job, I think this stipend is going to be well received and well deserved.
What construction do you have going on currently under the athletic department's guys, or what projects do you have on the drawing board?
Well, we're not really building anything today, but by early in 2016, we hope to be breaking ground on a new soccer stadium and a baseball stadium. We've got quite a bit of money left to raise in baseball. We're at least 2/3 of the way on soccer, so I'm confident that that facility will be underway probably in May. That'll be about a $15 million project. It'll really give our soccer coaches the tools necessary to get out and recruit the best athletes available, and also give us some amenities for our fans that we currently don't have in our current facility. The baseball stadium, we think that'll be about $40 million. That's just a wild guess right now. Wow. That's a big number, but there are going to be a lot more than just fan amenities in that new facility. There will be a lot to address the way that our coaches like to train our athletes. There'll be a lot of meeting rooms, weight rooms, that training, locker rooms, all those kind of new facilities. And we're really trying to create a home field advantage, get some more energy around game day for our baseball players. So if I can find someone for the naming rights on that new baseball stadium, we've got a bargain today, only $20 million, and that's forever. You know, you could have your name and lights forever, and I think be associated with one of the real gems on our campus in our baseball team.
Our guest is Mike Holder. We'll have another segment with Mike when we return on The Verdict.
The land to us is how we make our living. It's not an easy life. This land that OERB restored for me had pump jack stands, it had old building foundations with pipes sticking out of them. I could never have been able to afford to do these improvements like OERB did. They didn't just come out and put a Band-Aid on it. It's back to the prairie.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mike Holder, the Oklahoma State Athletic Director, is our guest, and with the baseball program has really been elevated since you've been around.
Yeah, I've really, I feel good about where we are in baseball, and I'd like to say that I think Josh Holliday and Rob Walton, James Villade, who's our recently added assistant. We had Marty Lees move on to a head coaching job at Washington State. We'll miss Marty, but I think James will do a good job in his stead. But you know, you'd like to think about all the great things that happen in college athletics or athletics in general. You know, you learn about teamwork, humility, sacrifice, perseverance, dealing with adversity, all those things. I think in our baseball program, I really feel good about the direction we're headed. If you have a son, grandson, distant relative, a friend, I think one of the real blessings in life would be to have an opportunity to come play baseball at Oklahoma State right now.
Assuming you're able to stay on the baseball program for a minute, assuming you're able to get the stadium funded in a way that will allow it to be erected, when would it be usable?
Oh, I think if we started, say optimistically, sometime next spring, spring of 16, probably the first season we could use it would be the spring of 2018.
Yeah.
But you know, Alley P. Reynolds Stadium has been a real asset to us, and we've had a lot of great teams there.
Yeah.
Two of the greatest players to ever play college baseball, and Pete Incaviglia and Robin Ventura. You know, Gary Ward, one of the icons in the coaching profession. So been a lot of great things happen there. It's been a real asset, but it's time to expand and move on. And the footprint is so small in the current location, we didn't really feel like we could expand. So we've got a new site at the corner of McElroy and Washington for those of you that get around Stillwater occasionally. And we'll keep the same orientation with home plate right there at that intersection, with center field to be kind of northeast of home plate. And we want to build about the same size or a little bit bigger, maybe 4,000 permanent seats, but with the ability for people to come in and sit in the berm seating in the outfield. Mm-hmm. We want to have tailgating before the games and after the games, and really make it a place where you want to bring the family on a nice spring afternoon, and place for the kids to run around while mom and dad watch the game. Yeah. I think we can really have an opportunity to create a unique atmosphere there. But I don't think there's any doubt that we'll win a lot of games and probably win some championships. But to our coaching staff's credit, that's not what they talk about on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. They talk about making a difference in young people's lives, teaching them how to be leaders, make sure they get a degree, graduate with honors, and go out in society and be ready to be a great husband, a great father, a leader in the community, and a successful businessman.
I'm trying to think, do you have any new head coaches for this calendar year?
Well, we've got Kenny Gajewski, Kenny G we call him. He comes to us from University of Florida, won the last 2 national championships in softball. Mm-hmm. And I really like Kenny. I like the energy that he brings. It's kind of ironic, you know, he won a national championship when he was a student athlete at University of Oklahoma. And I asked him when in the interview process, I said, Kenny, you think that's going to be a problem? He said, well, not unless it's going to be a problem with you. And I said, well, you know, you'd like to look at places that have been successful to find your leaders and your coaches. And great pedigree at Oklahoma. They won a national championship, I think, 95. I may be wrong on that by a year or two. And then win 2 national championships in softball at Florida. He's definitely got a great pedigree, and I think he'll do a great job for us.
What other programs would you like to tell our viewers about how they're getting along? Basketball, golf, whatever you want to pick.
Well, you know, they're all important. And
sure. How many different sports?
We have 18.
Wow.
It's a little bit misleading because 6 of those come from cross-country, track and field. Oh. Because you get, on the men's side, you get cross-country, indoor track, outdoor track, same thing on the women's side. We've made great strides under Dave Smith, our track coach. We won 3 national championships under his leadership, add to our total of 51, which is remarkable. We won national championships in basketball and golf and baseball and cross-country, a lot of sports. And eventually we'd like to do that for every sport. We'd like to have a national championship for every sport that we sponsor. Unfortunately, we haven't had a national championship on the women's side. I think it's inevitable that we do it, and I think we've got a lot of internal competition to see who gets that first one. Maybe Kenny G will get it in softball. You never know.
Well, what's your vision, Mike, in the short term and the long term? What do you see for OSU athletics in the next couple of years, and then what do you see 5-10 years down the road?
Well, I think most importantly is to understand who we are and what we're about, and we're in the business of educating. That's why we exist. So we need to make sure that every athlete has an opportunity to achieve at a high level academically, that they leave with that degree in hand. It's very, very important that we play by the rules. Our #1 supporter, Boone Pickens, when he gave us the $165 million gift in 2005, he only asked one thing, that we play by the rules. He said, you don't need to cheat to get ahead, whether it's in business or athletics, and if you want to lose your #1 supporter, just break some rules. So I remind our coaches every single day how important it is to play by the rules. Not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. And be good sports, do it the right way, set a good example. So all that stuff's important. It's important to be physically responsible. And I think if you do that and try to make a difference in the lives of your athletes, that, oh, by the way, you'll probably win some games along the way and some championships. So that's our #1 focus. Long term, I'd like to finish that athletic village. We still have a little bit of work left to do there, but I think when that's all completed, we'll at least have everything in place for every coach to have an opportunity to recruit the kind of athlete and develop the kind of athlete that it takes to win championships.
How about the Big 12 in general?
I've never felt better about the Big 12. You know, we're a hot topic for a lot of negativity here lately. I think that's because we're the smallest of the major conferences with only 10 members. That's a disadvantage number-wise, I think, in perception. But in reality, it's wonderful in a lot of ways. We get to play a full round robin in football and basketball. Every sport gets to see all the other members of the conference every single year. So I love that aspect. I'm really, really bullish on Big 12 football this year. You know, we've got 2 teams ranked in the top 4 preseason, Baylor and TCU. TCU's ranked #2 in just about every poll I've seen. I think we've got a great shot to get into the college football playoff this year, some team, and have a chance to win a national championship. I just hope that Oklahoma State's in that mix. So I think our conference is really underappreciated right now, but we have a chance to do something about that on the field this season.
You spoke quite a bit and quite eloquently, I might add, about what you expect of your student athletes and what you try to impart to them. How many in a given year, average year, how many student athletes are there at Oklahoma State?
Well, you know, we have, I think, 216 scholarships, 85 in football, 13 in basketball. A lot of the sports are on equivalencies. You know, in football and basketball, you get a full ride. That's not the case in baseball, for example. I think they get 13.7 or 13.9, and you field a roster of 35 athletes on that. So there's a lot of partial scholarships. It's rare for anyone to even approach a full ride. So 216 scholarships, and counting walk-ons and all the equivalency partial scholarships, we probably have on average about 520 athletes total.
That's a lot to look after.
Yeah, you know, 520 18 to 23-year-old youngsters. When your head hits the pillow at night, you hope the phone doesn't ring till.
That's a lot of Twitter accounts out there.
Well, I have to add gratuitously that when you first came on the show with us a while back, you didn't have any gray hair. Don't let this wear on you.
Yeah, you know, when I thought I was busy when I had 15 golfers, but 520, that's a daunting number.
It is, and you're doing a great job, Mike. Thanks for coming on The Verdict.
Yeah,
My
thanks so
pleasure.
much.
Thank
Mike
you.
Holder, the athletic director at Oklahoma State, today's guest. Kent and I'll have a final word when we return.
There are now 11 million of us who live here and work here. I was 15 when I came here 6 years ago. I raised my family here, drive my truck to my job every day. The only difference between now and 6 years ago, I do it legally. I wanted to, because this is my home.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, Each child deserves all the quality, assistance, and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I really think people are so unaware of the number of kids waiting just in Oklahoma. And I think if more people knew that those children were out there waiting, I think that just by the way we live our lives and the people we talk to, that maybe we can help encourage adoption from Oklahoma.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We're wrapping up the show with Oklahoma State Athletic Director Mike Holder.
Yeah, we are always grateful that Mike would get on the road from Stillwater and come down and do our show. It's more than just a slight burden on him, and he's always gracious with his time. But he carries that same attitude into how he runs the athletic department, and things sure seem to be in good shape and getting better.
Yeah, well, it's a giant responsibility.
Yep.
Monetarily, emotionally. You have that many athletes. We have double that many parents. I mean, and then you have how many alumni and donors and sponsors and a lot of people to be accountable to. And the role of athletic director is one I really admire. And to handle it with such grace as Mike Holder does, I think it's really an admirable quality. And Oklahoma State's lucky to have him.
They really are. He's a good guy.
We got some website information if you'd like to find out more about Oklahoma State and their athletic department. As I scramble through my pages here, you can go to okstate.edu and click on the athletic department to get more information on Mike Holder. And of course, we have a website. It's theverdict.tv. Love for you to visit our website and tell us about a guest you'd like to see on a future show. We'll see you next week.